On the 13th of August 1960, a Celtic legend strode onto the Parkhead turf for the first time. Although aged only 17, his attacking performance marked him out as someone who would have a significant future at Celtic Park. This began 11 years as part of Celtic's first team, during which time the boys would sit regularly atop the pinnacle of European football. This is the story of Celtic's original Yogi Bear, John Hughes. Hughes was born in Coatbridge in 1943, in the midst of World War II. He was not the only footballer in the family. His brothers Pat and Billy played professionally, with Billy also getting capped for Scotland. He was educated at St Augustine's School in the town. At this time, he was a keen runner, known for his sprinting prowess. However, a teacher persuaded him to get involved with the football team. Hughes went on to appear for Kirkshot Amateurs and Shotts Bon Accord, which brought him to the attention of Celtic scouts. It wasn't long before he was invited to join the Hoops. In 1959, when aged 16, Hughes signed on at Celtic Park. Although a young player, he was physically imposing as well as being skilled on the ball, and these attributes soon saw him promoted to the first team. Hughes made his Celtic bout on the 13th of August 1960. He took the field as the Celts played against Firth Lanark in the League Cup. It was a day to remember for him as he scored one goal in Celtic's 2-0 victory. A week later, Hughes was part of the boys' team that went to Ibrox for another League Cup tie. An exciting match saw 5 goals scored in the opening hour. Hughes got Celtic's third on the day, which proved to be the winning goal. This impressive start showed that he was going to be at the heart of Celtic's first team, but it wasn't a successful few years for the club. Under the control of Celtic boss Jimmy McGrory, the boys failed to win any major national trophy from 1957 to 1965. Hughes was one of Celtic's bright spots at this time. Despite some injury problems, he scored numerous important goals and was widely admired. Indeed, he could have had his own Italian experience when Juventus were said to have made a bid for him in 1963. 1962 saw Celtic's first experience of European football. The boys' maiden game saw them lose to Valencia in the Fairs Cup in 1962, although Hughes wasn't part of this. However, he did play the following season and make club history. In 1963, Celtic entered the Cup Winners' Cup. In the opening tie of the round, the boys hammered Swiss team Bâle 5-1. This included John Hughes scoring Celtic's first ever European hat-trick, and it was one of 10 hat-tricks that he scored across his entire Celtic career. The boys' fortunes changed with the arrival of Jock Stein in early 1965. This appointment would bring major success to Celtic, but Hughes and Stein did not always have a positive relationship. 1965 was also a year when John Hughes would play a central role in the boys' success, with many notable personal achievements. In January of that year, he scored 5 goals for Celtic in one game as the boys hammered Aberdeen 8-0. He was also part of the Celtic team that claimed the 1965 Scottish Cup, the boys' first trophy for 8 years. And then in October of that year, he had an even bigger impact. Celtic beat Rangers in the League Cup final, and Hughes dispatched 2 penalties to claim victory. After that game, Rangers fans invaded the pitch as the Celtic team celebrated. It even saw players and coaches in green and white being attacked before order was restored. This led to lapse of honour being banned by the Scottish FA for a number of years. As well as helping the Celts win games on the park, Hughes was increasingly known by another name. Based on the famous cartoon character Yogi Bear, he was nicknamed Yogi, and supporters often chanted "Feed the Bear" in tribute to him. The summer of 1966 is remembered for Celtic's pre-season tour in the USA, which many people believed helped bond the players and push them on to great success. However, it was also one of the moments that led to tension between Hughes and Stein. Hughes' wife had had a miscarriage when he was away, but Stein declined to tell him this. Season 1966-67 went on to be the most celebrated in Celtic's history. The boys swept aside all before them, winning 4 domestic cups: League, Scottish Cup, League Cup and Glasgow Cup, as well as the European Cup. Hughes was an important part of Celtic's run to face Inter Milan. He played in 5 games en route to Lisbon, but he wasn't one of the Celts who walked onto the Portuguese field. Yogi was carrying an injury and could not be risked for such an important match. Not being part of that Celtic team was something that always saddened him, even when he talked about the match years later, saying, "You actually feel out of it. A terrible feeling. Although everyone tries to bring you into it, you feel as if you're there, but in reality somewhere else. In your mind you're thinking, God, I'm missing this. I can tell you it's a dreadful sensation. Even after it at the celebration dinners, you just feel empty, although you try and appear as happy as you can, and you are happy for the others. But in truth, it was absolutely devastating." Whilst he didn't play in Lisbon, Hughes was part of the Celtic team that faced Racing Club in the 1967 Intercontinental Cup. This has become infamous for the on-field violence and antics of the South Americans. However, the Celts faced their own punishments and had 4 players ordered off in the playoff match, including Hughes, who kicked the opposing goalkeeper. Despite personal disappointments, John Hughes continued to be an essential player for the Celts, providing the goals and assists that helped the club dominate Scottish football. This included another League Cup final goal in October 1967 as the boys beat Dundee 5-3. Yogi gained international recognition too. On 8 occasions he turned out for the Scotland national team, starting in 1965 and doing so until 1969. In one match versus England at Hampden, he knocked home the ball for his only international goal. As Celtic racked up the league championships, and Hughes' medal collection grew even bigger, his frustration at missing out in Lisbon continued to rankle, and he knew the only way to change this. He had to help the Celts reach another European final. Celtic's 1967-68 efforts were disappointing. The defending champions exited the European Cup at the first round. The following season saw the boys get to the quarter-finals, but it was the next year that would be hugely significant for the club. In 1969-70, Celtic overcame Bâle, Benfica and Fiorentina to reach the European Cup semi-finals. The Benfica game was especially memorable. After a 3-3 aggregate draw, Celtic won thanks to a coin toss. In the semis, Celtic were paired with England's champions, Leeds United. The English media expected the Yorkshire men to easily claim that season's trophy, but the boys soon left them disappointed. A 1-0 win in Leeds was followed up by a 2-1 victory at Hampden Park, and John Hughes had scored Celtic's first in Glasgow. Celtic were in their second European Cup final, and in May 1970 they made their way to Milan in Italy. Playing at the San Siro, they faced Dutch side Feyenoord, and this time John Hughes was part of the boys' 11. Sadly, it wouldn't end the same way as 3 years previously. Despite taking the lead, Celtic were outplayed for much of the match. By full time, it was 1-1, which meant extra time would be played. At the start of this, Hughes missed a very good chance to put the hoops in front, and Feyenoord eventually scored a late winner. After the game, the recriminations began. Steen was angry at the Celtic team, whilst many of them blamed him for the boys' poor performance and underestimating a very good Feyenoord team. Hughes later said that Celtic had wrongly believed beating Leeds United meant the trophy would automatically be theirs. He also criticised Jock Stein for dropping George Conley. This feeling of resentment was returned by Stein, and Hughes has said that the manager blamed him for missing the extra time chance. Losing the 1970 European Cup final started the countdown to Hughes' departure from Celtic Park. A little over a year later, he would no longer pull on the green and white hoops. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, a new breed of Celtic player was beginning to break into the first team. Known as the Quality Street Gang, this included many renowned Celts such as Lou Macari and Kenny Dalglish. As attackers, they were in competition with Hughes. By early 1971, it seemed that Hughes' time at Celtic was over. He was playing less often, and in March of that year handed in a transfer request. But Yogi was still an important squad player. He helped the boys win the 1971 title, their 6th in succession, but missed out on playing in the Scottish Cup final when Rangers were defeated in a replay. May 1971 can be seen as the end of the road for the squad that had taken Celtic to Lisbon. In Celtic's final game of the season, playing at home against Clyde, it was advertised pre-match as being the final time the Lisbon Lions 11 would play together, although in the end they only walked out as one due to an injury to Ronnie Simpson. By the end of 1971, 6 of the Lions 11 had left the club: Simpson, Gemmell, Clark, Wallace, Chalmers and Auld. John Hughes also found himself on the exit list, a decision which greatly angered him. Indeed, in later years, he even claimed that Steen ruined my life. August 1971 saw Hughes play in his last Celtic Cup final, when the boys lost 2-1 to Aberdeen in the Dryborough Cup, a 1970s and 80s tournament which acted as a season opener. Then later that month, he netted against Ayr United in the League Cup, the last time he scored for the Celts. In September 1971, Danish side 1903 Copenhagen travelled to Glasgow's East End. 2 late goals would help the Celts win 3-0 and overturn a first leg loss. This was also the last time John Hughes would turn out for the Celts, although he wouldn't have known this at the time. Within days, he had made an English move. Yogi returned home from training to find Jock Stein at his house. The Celtic boss informed Hughes he was being transferred to Crystal Palace, where he would be joined by Willie Wallace. Despite not wanting to go, Hughes was given no choice, and so his next stop was London. Overall, his English experience was less than successful, and he was especially hampered by injuries. Hughes spent 2 years at Selhurst Park, although played only 23 times, scoring 4 goals. However, one of these was a contender for goal of the season in England. He then made a move to Sunderland in 1973, but got injured in his first and only game. His time in England had simply furthered the animosity between Hughes and Stein. Yogi later found out that other English teams, including Everton, had been interested, but he wasn't given these options. Hughes also claimed he didn't win the goal of the season because Stein was TV judge and wouldn't pick him. This ultimately led him to miss Jock Stein's funeral in 1985. After his playing career ended, Hughes had the chance to understand football from the perspective of a manager, albeit a nomadic one. He was firstly a coach with Baillieston and then managed at Shottsbon Accord, where he had previously played. He also took charge at Stranraer for a period and bossed the juniors Scotland national team. After one final spell managing Baillieston, his time in football was at its end. He then had various different employment experiences, including working as a drugs counsellor. Hughes is perhaps best remembered for his pub trade work. Yogi ran a pub and could often be seen behind the bar of well-known Celtic hostelries in Glasgow. Hughes had various health problems in his later years, including cancer. And in August 2022, following a short illness, he died aged 79. A quick glance at the honours Yogi gained at Celtic Park is enough to understand his momentous role in Celtic history. As well as helping the boys to reach 2 European Cup finals, one of which they won, he won 6 league titles, 1 Scottish Cup and 4 League Cups, as well as numerous Glasgow Cups as well. Hughes' role in these successes is very clear, not least given his goal-scoring exploits in green and white. His 188 goals make him Celtic's 7th all-time top scorer. In addition, he managed to find the net in 12 successive seasons for the boys. There's many ways to describe John Hughes' life, but perhaps it's best to leave it to his own words. In one interview that he gave shortly before he died, Hughes simply said, "You know what? I just want it to be known that I was a Celtic man." If you want to learn more about Celtic history, follow Hail Hail History on Twitter X or Blue Sky. You can also take part in free Celtic walking tours. Visit celticwalkingtours.wordpress.com for more information.